Good morning, everyone. It is so good to be with you today on this joyful and music-filled Sunday. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. My name is Danielle Garrett. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm serving as your student minister this year. Whoever you are and whatever road has led you here this morning, know that you are welcome here. We are so glad you've come to worship with us. As Unitarian Universalists, we do not share a common creed, but rather covenant together to affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and promote justice. On Sunday mornings, we bring our whole selves, our many names for the divine, and our diverse spiritual paths, and join together in worship. Through joyful music, quiet prayer, and thoughtful words, we seek to honor that which we hold most sacred and affirm our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone this morning who is visiting us for the first time. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you might find it here. If you're joining us live this morning and you feel comfortable, we'd love for you to say hello in the chat so that we can welcome you. You can find helpful resources and more information about our congregation by visiting our website at firstuunash.org. You can also feel free to direct message me on Zoom this morning or reach out via email at studentmin@thefund.org for more information about the congregation, and I will also put those addresses and links in the chat. We're so glad you're all with us this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Jaie Tiefenbrunn. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville as Director of Music Ministries. For the past 20 months, we have had to pivot and reimagine how we celebrate the musical life of our congregation. We have had a journey through song, from learning about internet latency, the time that it takes my Zoom signal to reach you and vice versa, which makes singing together in real time difficult if not impossible, to audio and video editing, remote recording, applying compression, noise reduction, and equalization. Like so many journeys through memory, this one won't be linear, but hopefully we will share a morning of some of the best recordings of our volunteer choir and staff and contract musicians and digital artists. We open this morning with one of my favorite hymns, recorded through an online audio workstation called Soundtrap. We started with a piano track from our collaborative pianist, Hollingsmith-Bourne. I then layered in a guide track with a melody and also added a harmony. As each person logs in and records, they get to hear each other's voices. You'll also hear a cajon track recorded by a colleague of mine from school who was living in Mexico at the time. I invite you now to rise up in body or in spirit in the room that you are in and join in singing Fea Rose Therese, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
There's a river flowing in my soul. Good morning. My name is Peg Duffy. I'm a member of the congregation and the choir, and my pronouns are she and her. Our call to worship this morning comes from David Bowie. The truth, of course, is that there is no journey. We are arriving and departing all at the same time. We light our chalice this morning with the Hungarian blessing, Székely Áldás, set to music by Elizabeth Norton.
Good morning. I am Marguerite Mills, your Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and my pronouns are she and her. This morning's story, it's a traditional wisdom tale, and I no longer remember where I first heard it or who first told it, but in the long-standing tradition of storytelling, it was a gift to me, and I pass it on as a gift to you with the added gift of having Jaie join me in telling the story. There was a girl, her name was Manga, and that means wandering, wanderer. And she had a lovely life. She lived in a village with her family and her friends. They had a simple life, but a good one. Interesting thing is that they all had very, very long necks. That was a sign of beauty for them. And they knew nothing else. And everyone was beautiful to everyone else. Manga would leave in the early morning to go into the forest that was right beside their village. And she would gather twigs and vines and grasses for the baskets that she made. And as she went, she would sing. One morning, she returned from her gathering to find that the village was quiet. There was no movement, no sound, and everyone looked as though they had gone to sleep. In fact, they had. In fact, they had all died. She did not know what to do. She did not know how to live on her own. And so she knew that she had to go back into the forest. She had to go farther than she had ever gone before and come out the other side, because surely there was another village there, and perhaps they would welcome her in. And so she went back into the forest with her song. And as she came out the other side, indeed, there was another village. It looked very much like her own. There was one big difference. Everyone there had very, very short necks. But as she came into the village, looking as different from them as she did, still they welcomed her. They heard her story. They knew that she was heartbroken, but she knew that she was welcome with them. And soon she returned to her same habits, making beautiful, lovely baskets, small ones, big ones, tall ones, skinny ones, ones with beautiful curves and ones with angles. And everyone loved these baskets, and she was so happy that she had something to give to her new friend, her new friends of the heart. And so, as before, just on the other side of the forest, she went in to gather up her twigs and her vines and her grasses, singing her song. Over time, the villagers became accustomed to that. Manga always rose earlier than anyone else, and she always rose with her song, and they all woke up early. No one ever overslept anymore, and it was the loveliest of ways to wake up for everyone, except one man who was afraid because she was different, and who was jealous because everyone had accepted her. And what did that mean for him? Well, he started to spread rumors. And he spread rumors all around the town that maybe Manga was not as good and kind and generous and sweet as she seemed. And some people started to listen to him just a little bit. And then he went to Manga and he told her, you know, they're catching on. You will not be able to stay here. You need to leave now while you can. Well, heartbroken once again, she did leave. And the man watched with great satisfaction and relief as she went. Now, the next morning, everyone overslept. And as they got up, they came out and they wandered about and they looked at each other and they looked for Manga and they wanted to know, where was her song? Why had they not been awakened? as they had been every morning before. And some of those who had started to listen to that man started to regret that. But they all gathered in the center of the village. And just as many towns and villages and cities have that one man who is scared and afraid, often, if they are fortunate, they also have a wise man. And indeed, this village did. And he stood there and he watched everyone as they came to their senses and as they worried for Manga's well-being. And he finally spoke up and he said, I think I know. Who knows what has happened? And he looked at the other man, and the villagers spread, and there was direct eye contact between them, except that scared and jealous man could not meet the gaze of the wise man, who said nothing at all, until finally the other man admitted to what he had done and what he had said. And everyone in the village, everyone said, we've got to find her. We must go back into the forest once again. We have to find Manga and bring her home. And so they went into the forest looking for her and hoping that she would hear them as they sang her song. And Manga heard them, and she sang back to them. And as they sang to each other, they met and they embraced, and all was forgotten. And even that small-minded, scared, and jealous man was forgiven. And together, they all went back home to their village. They returned together, and Manga's days of wandering were ended. And so ends our story.
Thank you for that, Jaie and Marguerite. You may know that we share every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. Our Share the Plate partner for the month of November is The Store, a year-round free grocery store that allows people to shop for their basic needs, offers cooking and nutrition classes, and aims to address food insecurity in the Nashville area through community partnerships and programming. You can learn more in the worship portal at firstuunash.org, where you can also find the link to our online donation form. The offering is a sacrament of the free church. It is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. As always, your gifts, like your presence among us, are received with gratitude.
please join me in a spirit of prayer? Musicians pray with music. Photographers pray with light. May our ears and eyes be gateways to the divine. Thank you, Holling and Bill, for the music and the images for our prayer. I could have easily programmed a 90-minute service playing all of your choir's greatest hits from the past year and a half. We have learned so much, tackled so many technology challenges, spent so many hours in front of our computers. Reverend Diane and I thought it might be a good idea to share with you a little behind-the-scenes look at what I do. Let's watch this clip. Whew. All right, hello. I am mastering Child of God today. I am going to share my digital audio workstation so that you can see a little bit of what I've been doing. This recording project was a little bit different. I took video at the church of choir practice and took the recording from one of those video cameras. I have had to do a lot of processing on that, cleaning up that audio. So now what I'm in the process of is I do a mix and I let it sit. And then I do another listen and then I let it sit. You don't hear things anymore after a while. So I'm picking up where the choir comes in. Melanie is our soloist. There's her track there in bright blue. We're so grateful to have her as part of our music program as a volunteer. And what I do is color code all of the tracks. So my basses are fuchsia, my tenors are turquoise, my altos are blue, and my sopranos are purple. Yeah, so let's just listen for a minute, and I'm going to find stuff right away that I need to poke around at. So what I have been going for is organic, and yet anything that pops out takes you out of the state of that you're in while you're listening to a piece of music is a distraction. What I'm able to do is mute or unmute each of these voice part blocks. So the purple block is what I'm going to listen to first. Okay, the sopranos are off the hook. Time to listen to the altos. And now we get to listen to the basses. So there's a bass that said the
No
wrong.
matter what the world says.
Interesting.
Says or thinks.
Oh, it's not a wrong word, it's just out of time. Okay, so, but that's where it is. So look at that, 2 basses jumped the gun. No big deal, no worries, no shame. This is part of what I do to make it sound good. Tick, tick, tink. Cut, cut, cut. Tap. Keystrokes. These peaks is what they're called. I just move those over. And then it's lined up.
Says or thinks.
So I use myself as the rhythmic guide, for better or worse, because sometimes I am not accurate, which is a testament to how challenging this is. And I use markers up here, you can see at the top, to guide me to where the next word needs to fall. So you see all of these are falling into line. When you're not recording in the same room, you don't have the visual cues. Even when I make recording tracks, you don't get the same visual cues, and our mirror neurons, which are part of how we do anything together, it's part of how we bands play in time and get locked in. It is amazing. And when we're recording all by ourselves, that's all gone. It's not happening. It doesn't exist. So that was just one little tiny snippet of what I do to make the recordings sound as beautiful as possible. It's not only what I do digitally that make the recordings beautiful. If I didn't receive recordings from you, my singers, my choir, if the singers hadn't come to rehearsal and listened and applied what I taught them, my work would have been even more difficult. So let's listen to a couple of more selections that we made for very specific worship services. In autumn of 2020, we regrouped to have a music democracy, and the choir recorded Elizabeth Alexander's arrangement of This Is What Democracy Looks Like.
1, that there's a wrong to be righted. 2. We know that we are stronger when united. 3. We exercise our right to assemble. 4. That's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering. Hey, hey, look this way. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We see that there's a wrong to be righted. 2. We know that we are stronger when united. 3. We exercise our right to assemble. 4. That's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering. Hey, hey, look this way. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Our last project of the 2020-2021 church year celebrated spring. Singers shared photos of their favorite flowers, and Reverend Denise took photos around our campus. This is one of my favorite carols, and the melody might be familiar as Good King Wenceslas. But did you know that in the original songbook, Pie Cantiones, it is a spring carol? There are 4 verses in Latin, and if you look up Tempus Adest Floridum, you'll see that the poetry fits right in with Unitarian Universalist values. I only asked the choir to sing the first verse in Latin, followed by the English translations of the lyrics that appear in our hymnal, which are set to a different tune. Holling arranged this for piano, and Baxter provided penny whistle.
Tempus adest floridum, surgens nunque flores, venales in omnibus, imitantum mores, quod frigus lacerat, preparant calores, gemimus hoc fieri, per multos labores. Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all the growing powers, towards the light is striving, on the iron touch of cold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold, now make up for lost time. And plant at winter long, somewhere at their leisure, now be stirring green and strong, finding growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green enhancing, flowers make me among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
I wish that I had time to share all of our recordings. Last Christmas, Trig engineered a beautiful video for I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. You can find that worship service in our online library. This fall, we returned, and choir added their voices to Tom Steinman's song, Welcome to Our Church, which still plays in my head occasionally. And last week, choir provided their voices and images to celebrate the divine in all of our unique brilliance in Mark A. Miller's Child of God. I am so very grateful for all of the time and effort that has gone into creating these works of art. Singing online was daunting. The first tools that came out were humbling and discouraging, and I sought to find a new way for our choir to sing together. It was a ministry that was vital not only to this church community as a whole, but to each individual singer who made it to the Zoom rehearsals. Even if they couldn't attend regularly, I knew they were there, and they knew we were here. Even if I got an email saying, it's just not working for me, I knew that the work we were doing was important. It's scary to sing alone into a microphone. It's worse to listen back to yourself, because what you hear in your head is different from what the microphone hears. But the singers stuck it out. They made it through those vulnerable moments. They gained confidence. They overcame their need to be perfect in favor of good enough. They have made 12 special choir recordings and contributed more than 20 hymns to our library. I tried to find ways to lift them up, and their voices continue to lift this congregation up. And I know we have succeeded together in this shared ministry. I've invited you, my choir members, to participate in this service today. So if you would turn your cameras on or use a heart react so that you can be known and appreciated by this congregation, now is the time, my beautiful singers. Make yourselves known. If you want to see, go to gallery view in Zoom and receive the gratitude from those gathered together this morning. Thank you all so much. It's incredibly hard to believe that one of our first recordings was the most challenging. Turn the World Around challenged our instrumentalists, Holling, Chris Martin, Amberly Rosen, and Jack Nugent, and our singers, who sang along with a MIDI track. The video was artfully and enthusiastically created by Sean Appelt, and short of Christmas Eve last year, we have not tackled anything else as challenging. Won't you please rise up in body or in spirit and join your choir from 2020 in singing Harry Belafonte's Turn the World Around.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, throwing in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain.
The words to the chalice extinguishing can be found in the chat. Please speak them with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We'll build a love where we bind up the broken. We'll build a love where the captives go free. Where the oil of gladness dissolves all our mourning. We'll build a promise love that can be. We'll build a love where we bring good tidings to all the afflicted and those who will mourn. We'll give them gardens instead of ashes. We'll build a love where peace is reborn. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, then bring peace. Where justice shall flow down like a water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a love where those who go hungry are given the food that makes us so strong, restoring the balance to all of God's children. Come build a love where all will belong. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, and bring peace. Where justice shall flow down like the water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. Hallelujah, We'll build a love where cries of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak. Where the oaths of righteousness scatter people. Come build a love that equally see. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, and bring peace. Where justice shall flow down like the water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. 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 Hallelujah, I'd like to just take one more moment to acknowledge
all of our musicians, both singers and instrumentalists, our digital artists, our slide creators, our projectionists, my staff colleagues who have made today and this past 20 months of digital music possible. Thank you so very much. This worship service is ended, but may our service and our music continue, renewed. Blessed be.